Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Sterling Heights City Council to order. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please bless our elected officials, grant them courage and wisdom to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. McHale. Will we please have the roll call?
Mayor Taylor,
Here.
Mrs. Sarowski,
Here.
Mrs. Koski,
Present.
Mr. Radke,
Present.
Mrs. Schmidt,
Present.
Mr. Yanes,
Here.
Mrs. Ziarko,
Present.
Council, we need approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
move to approve the agenda. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is a report from our city manager, Mark Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to take a couple minutes to remind everyone of some important events coming up. The City of Sterling Heights is having its 4th annual State of the City address on Friday, September 27th at the AMC Forum 30 Theater. Attendees will hear from Mayor Taylor on current projects and future initiatives, many of them which are most exciting and most of which you're seeing underway as we speak. The event begins at 8 a.m., and you can contact the Sterling Heights Regional Chamber of Commerce and Industry for more information or to register. And you can call them at 731-5400 if you'd like more information about the event. Again, that's September 27th at the AMC Theaters beginning at 8 a.m. And also, the Department of Public Works is hosting a fall waste collection, actually 2 events at the Public Works Building located at 7200 18 Mile Road. The first will be a hazardous waste disposal, and that'll be on Saturday, September 21st from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then a shred day, Saturday, September 28th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. You may recall we had these events in the spring. They're very popular, so we're going to bring them back this fall. And also, you probably know that our DPW building is going to be under construction, so the spring events are kind of questionable, so we wanted to definitely get these 2 events in. So again, that is on September 21st from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at our DPW facility. And also, the Sterling Heights Fire Department will hold the Fire Department Awards Night on Friday, October 4th in the City Hall Council Chambers at 6 p.m. Certainly the public is welcome to attend. That's October 4th at 6 p.m. in these council chambers. And additionally, the Sterling Heights Fire Department is having its annual open house from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sunday, October 6th at Fire Station 4, which is on 15 Mile Road right across from the high school. Residents are encouraged to join the fire department for a festival of fun and fire safety events, which include activities for the kids, fire department exercises, and various displays. There'll certainly be refreshments and clowns and other information available as well. I want to thank the city's fire union, Local 1557, and local businesses that are donating time, goods, and services to continue this popular event. Also want to thank the firemen and paramedics that will be on site because they're donating their time. So we look forward to seeing you there. It was very well attended last year. Again, that event is October 6th, Station 4, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And also, I'm super excited and proud to talk about the next topic. Our talented team from Sterling Heights TV is up for several awards through the Central States Regional Alliance for Community Media. This year's Philo Awards ceremony will be held in Grand Rapids on October 17th. And they didn't want me to show the pictures, so of course I have to show the pictures. So Dan Rizek is being recognized as a winner in the promotional category for recreating recreation, and also year 1, and in a PSA category for its election day. and also a finalist for the comedy humor category of Carol the Barrel. Some of you may have seen Carol the Barrel. She has disappeared. However, Carol the Barrel will be coming back in a different shape and form in the near future. So look forward to that. And also Robert Surgott, who's in the audience this evening. Can you wave, Bob? Bob is also being recognized in the music video category for Sterling Heights Police Department's Happy Video. If you haven't seen it, it's a must-see. You can go to our Sterling Heights Police Facebook page to watch the video. So it's certainly well-deserved. The material they produce, for those of you who see it, I think you would agree it's first class. It's primetime material, and we're super lucky to have Dan and Bob on our team. So thank you and congratulations. And also, we're very pleased to present a new and exciting program this evening being offered to businesses throughout the city to help fund clean energy enhancements, and best of all, at no cost to the city of Sterling Heights. And with us this evening is Bali Komar, CEO of Lean and Green Michigan, who's going to tell us more about this program. And then I'll conclude with some methods in which we're beginning to promote the program.
What's over there on the other side of the,
That looks like it. Pretty good.
All right. So good evening. My name is Bali Kumar. I'm CEO of Lean and Green Michigan, which administers the PACE program around the state and in the county. I'll show the map in a bit as to what the footprint really looks like, but I'll just jump right in. So we'll talk about what is PACE, what is Property Assessed Clean Energy, go through some case studies, and if we do questions, then happy to take them. What is PACE? PACE stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy. It's a law that was passed by the Michigan legislature that allows for long-term, low fixed interest loans to commercial, industrial, multifamily, nonprofit, and agricultural properties. So that way they can do energy efficiency, water conservation, or renewable energy upgrades to their properties without taking any upfront costs. So you pay nothing. The savings has to more than pay off the loan per statute for projects that are large enough. All right, so the property assessed portion is the key part. Property owners submit to a voluntary special assessment on their property tax. That makes lenders more friendly to give better terms because it's a more secure loan. So they give longer terms and fixed interest where they normally wouldn't. But as this little chart shows, the repayment is fixed and low because it's stretched out over such a long term, and the energy savings, because the cost of energy over time goes up, is greater and greater and greater. I think the numbers really show it. So if there's a $500,000 project on a property, you can pay for it out of pocket. You might save 70 grand a year, and it'll take you a little over 7 years to pay it off. So, or you could just not come out of pocket, and you can go to a bank and take out a loan. Let's say you take out a 7-year loan. You're saving 70 grand a year, same situation as before, but your debt payments are 87 grand a year, so it doesn't really make financial sense to do it, so people aren't doing it. And so people are just operating with worse properties that are inefficient. But with PACE, you get a really long term. And when you get a really long term, your debt payments are really low. And so you're saving 70 grand a year, but you're only paying back 42, then you're saving $27,000 a year, which you can reinvest into the business, which you can diversify, hire more people, and it sort of makes the energy efficiency upgrades a no-brainer. So that's what the legislature was intending when they passed a statute here in Michigan. So I talked about some of the benefits. It's also non-recourse to the property owner because it's property assessed. So it sticks to the property. If a property is sold, just like property taxes, the next property owner has to keep paying it until it's done. There's also an energy savings guarantee that for projects over $250,000, there's a requirement that the savings exceeds the investment, and it has to be guaranteed by a contractor. So it's sort of a consumer protection built in, so that way someone's not saying, hey, put in this one LED light and you're gonna save $1 million, trust me. Because then they're like, all right, cool, well, you just guarantee that, and if you fall short, then you owe me the shortfall. And then, that sort of roots out a lot of the potential fraud in the market. What can be financed? Retrofits, there are a lot of retrofits around the state that are doing it, gut rehabs, and new construction projects. Energy efficiency, water conservation, renewable energy, and some property owners are refinancing work they've already done because they've shelled out the $500,000, and they're like, oh, wait, I could just take that $500,000, put it back into my pocket, and then stretch it out over time. What are people doing? Insulation, lighting, HVAC, EV charging stations, stormwater runoff, solar, geothermal. You can do pretty much anything. And this is the map of the jurisdictions that we cover, although it's a bit dated because we cover a couple more. But you see we got, we have a lot of Southeast Michigan. We have, Macomb, Oakland, Wayne, Washtenaw. St. Clair is surprisingly active as a county that utilizes PACE. And so far, we have 42 local governments that we cover. We sort of go where the projects are. So if there's a project, we'll talk to the local government. We'll say, here's the statute. You can enact it. You guys already have it. So, we can get to work. This number is old. I think last week we closed about $8 million worth of deals. So we've closed closer to $35 million worth of financing. And we are active where 71% of the population lives. The process for PACE is, and we sort of handle this as the administrator of the program. So you don't have to worry about doing any of the work. You don't have to worry about determining eligibility, which is what we do a lot of our days. We'll connect people to do energy analyses, connect people to financing. We'll convince more financiers to come and lend here so that way it's a competitive market, which is better for the consumers. Help them determine their scope of work. Lenders have to give consent. So if there is a mortgage on the property, the mortgage holder has to give consent because PACE is coming in on top as a special assessment to the property tax. And so we're well-versed in having those conversations. In a capital stack, we're seeing PACE substituting for money out of an owner's pocket, so owner's equity or mezzanine finance, which is often more expensive and or shorter term. So worse terms. We're seeing it, combined with some stuff like historic tax credits or brownfield. So it's just another economic development tool in your toolkit that you have. Case studies. Clinton Township has the Garfield Metro building, and the property owner took out a $249,000 PACE loan, stretched the cost out over 20 years, and is expected to save $733,000. So even after paying back the loan plus interest, they're still expected to save $250,000. So it makes sense for them to have, done the LEDs and do some building controls and make more efficient HVAC. A lot of folks like the Whitney Restaurant on Woodward. They did an $870,000 PACE project where they did new HVAC, they did kitchen ranges, LEDs, and storm enclosures on windows. There's a lot of multifamily properties that are utilizing PACE. So these are, 15, 20-year projects that have, $100,000, $200,000 of investment, but still are saving tens of thousands of dollars to the property owner after paying back the loan. Same thing with hotels. These are the larger deals. The Roberts Riverwalk in Detroit and the St. Clair Inn in Port Huron, Hotel Harrington. The property owners are just seeing this as better capital for them to make better buildings. So I mentioned the $250,000 threshold earlier. For projects that are under $250,000, the statute just sort of says, we trust that you might need a new boiler, and take the boiler and stretch the costs out over this period of time. Like, you don't have to get the guarantee, have somebody calculate a savings to investment ratio. It just adds costs unnecessarily. New construction, last week, and we haven't really gone public with it. We will at some point when we draft the case study, but we closed some new construction deals, which is good because I would say that a building to code is the worst building you can legally build. You know, we're trying to get people to build better buildings, and so PACE financing helps them close that gap from a financial perspective. And any questions? That's the email, info@leanandgreenmi.com. Our phone number is there, and I'm happy to take any questions if.
Council, anyone have any Mrs. Sarowski?
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
So this is, benefits many different types of buildings. What if someone who is interested in building a green multifamily but condo association? That's different than multifamily.
Yep.
Does this still apply to the condos because they're individually purchased residences?
So generally, the answer is no. There might be a creative yes in there if the HOA, being, you know, an LLC or something, owns some portion of it. You know, like if there's a gym and there's a bunch of common space.
A community space, okay.
There's a way to work it. It might be tough, but we're happy to take a look at all
Okay.
projects.
Very interesting. Thank you.
No problem.
When the term of the loan expires, does the special assessment drop off? What happens?
Yes.
It does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes a property owner can prepay. We expect that one property owner is going to prepay after, 3 or 4 years of the special assessment, but, then that is subject to the terms of the financing documents.
Got it. Okay, anyone else? Thank you very much. Mr. Vanderpool?
Mayor, just in conclusion, another good news piece of this program is that the city council does not have to take formal approval to accept it or participate in it because Macomb County has qualified as an eligible PACE county. So we're ready to go with this program. We're going to start marketing it quickly. In fact, tomorrow we have a web page that has been developed. We're going to be sending out an email to all of our businesses throughout the city. We're also going to be working with the Chamber of Commerce to market the program and doing some direct mailing to businesses as well. And what you see before you is a web page that contains more information and directly links individuals to the PACE website as well, where you can get the application online and so on. So we're excited to begin the program. As Mr. Kumar indicated, this is just one more tool in our toolbox for economic development. We have a lot of economic development activity going on in Sterling Heights, and it's because of creative programs like this and the City Council's pro-business philosophy over the years. So thank you, and Mayor, that concludes my report this evening.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Vanderpool. The next item on our agenda is a presentation of the 18th recipient of a Sterling Heights Fire Department Survival Coin. We'll have a presentation from our Fire Chief, Chris Martin. Chief Martin.
Good evening, Mayor Taylor, members of council, Mr. Vanderpool. It is my absolute privilege and honor to be here tonight with another great story, our 18th survival coin. This one almost slipped through the cracks because at the time it happened, none of the men that responded thought that this patient had a chance of survival, so we didn't really follow up on it. But it came to be, and on July 13th of 2018, Mr. Robert Raffin was golfing on Plumbrook Golf Course with some longtime friends and golf partners. And as they made the turn on the par 5, number 9 hole, suddenly Mr. Raffin collapsed into cardiac arrest unexpectedly. Amazingly enough, his 3 friends started CPR automatically. Dr. James Karras, John Brozis, and Russ Buzo continued that CPR until the fire department responded. And as you can imagine, the fire department response time included them having to put their gear in the golf carts and drive out to the area where the cardiac arrest had taken place. But when they got there, Engine 1, Rescue 1, and Squad 4, the 7 firefighters that worked feverishly for 16 minutes stabilizing Mr. Raffin's condition. That's advanced airways, IVs, defibrillations, medications, and quality CPR that whole time. They loaded him into Squad 4 and took him to Henry Ford Hospital, where he was sedated and put under ice, cooled down for the next 3 days. He spent 6.5 weeks in the hospital, had a quadruple bypass 8 weeks later. and live to call us and say, hey, I survived that. And so it is my absolute honor to invite Mr. Raffin up here, and I think the two firefighters that we got right here. So Sergeant Tom Grady and firefighters Lance Stevens, please come up here and have the honors here.
I'm touched. Thank you very much. My wife's been in America here for 4 years. I have a 5-month-old son at home. And this happened. I know number 9's a tough hole, but cardiac arrest, hell. So, it's not about me, it's about these guys, those guys over there. The hundreds of doctors that were involved. Thank you.
Mayor Taylor, as I was speaking with the gentleman that performed CPR on Mr. Raffin, we were talking about that chain of survival that it's commonly known as. And I explained to him, and as Mr. Raffin just said, there was hundreds of people that had part of his care, but it's those 3 individuals that started CPR first and foremost. Without for them, we wouldn't be here today. So with that, I'd like to bring Dr. James Karras, John Brozis, and Russ Buzo up here and present them with the Sterling Heights Fire Department's Exceptional Civilian Service Award.
Designate somebody.
The doc, yeah.
It was, as you can imagine, when we were out there, I mean, it's something you never wanted to see happen, and unfortunately, in my life, this is the second time this has happened, and it's when it's someone personal that goes down, it's really, to the heart, but the 3 of us, we just reacted, and we did CPR. Jack took care of calling the fire department and 911 and calling the clubhouse and organizing everything. And Russ and I were working on Rob at that point, and he's a good friend of ours, so it's really, really difficult. But, the fact that we're here, it's 15 months later, it's just something that, and then Rob had a young son, and I'm just thinking he has to make it, at that point. So, and he did. So, in the fire department, they came there, but you can hear the sirens in the background, but it's like, they got there and they came in the golf carts and everything there, and they were wonderful. So we really appreciate everyone. So thanks. All right.
Thank you very much.
Like I said, Mayor, it's an awesome story, but tonight I'd like to add on to this awesome story and talk a little bit about some other stuff that we do. So the Survival Coin, it's an excellent program. It brings together the responders and those that suffered a cardiac arrest. And again, this is the 18th time in the last 3 years since we've done it. But more often, more frequently, what our firefighters are responding to are things that don't rise to cardiac arrest because their intervention changes that. And when we talk about strokes and heart attacks, we have a huge impact on what we do for the residents and the visitors of the city of Sterling Heights. Just by example, in America, there's a stroke every 40 seconds. It's a fatal stroke every 4 minutes. And we recently responded to a stroke that could have had a devastating effect. And again, most strokes, if you don't die from a stroke, you have debilitating issues, some that are very bad, and 90% of the patients have that. So on your screen here, you see a picture of a recent run. On the left side of that screen is the before CAT scan. On the right side of the screen is the after CAT scan, where the doctors at Beaumont Hospital were able to get in there and block the clot or open the clot up. And that can only happen when there's a quick response from paramedics, a quick recognition of the signs and symptoms of a stroke, communication with the hospital, fast transport to the hospital, and this person had a very good outcome because of that. Minutes later, or any type of delay, could have been a way different outcome. The same thing is for heart attacks. There's another picture coming up here of a heart attack who we responded to, and it's the same thing. A heart attack and a stroke, basically the same thing. It's a blockage, and every second that blockage continues, there's damage to the brain or the heart. In this instance, the firefighters responded, recognized the heart attack, called St. John Macomb, gave them a 12-lead EKG over their 12-lead monitors, and we had what's called a 13-minute door-to-balloon time, which is very like a record, very fast for that person to go through the ER into the cath lab and have that blockage opened up. So, yeah, the Survivor Coin, it's a great program. They're always emotional, as you've seen tonight, but more frequently and more often are these strokes and heart attacks that our firefighters are responding to, and their care makes a huge outcome. So tonight I have a couple of special guests that would like to add on to that. I have Naomi Ishioka from Beaumont Troy and Dr. Anthony Bonfiglio from St. John Macomb that are going to take a few minutes to speak.
Thank you. I'm not that tall. Thank you, City Council and Mayor, for giving us this opportunity really to recognize the excellent care that our paramedics and our firefighters give to our city residents every day. I personally live less than a mile of here. I'm a city resident, and I can't be happier with the care that I see coming into my ER every day. I've worked at Troy Beaumont for 20 years, and I've just seen the care get better and better and better. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the stroke that you saw those pictures from. I actually was in the ER when this guy came in. What happened with him is his family members recognized there was something wrong, and they called 911. And in our city, 911 calls, you have a fire truck at your house in 3 to 5 minutes. That's phenomenal. If you were to review all the cities around here, that's not the average. That's faster, and that's amazing. And when you're talking about heart attacks and strokes, you're talking about cells dying, brain cells dying. So what happened with this guy, literally the family member called, EMS got on scene, they did a quick assessment, they realized this guy is having a massive stroke. This gentleman, he was young, he was, I believe, in his 50s. Family called 911, he had this sudden onset of inability to speak, confusion, total loss of the use of his right side. He couldn't move at all. He couldn't talk, he couldn't speak. Essentially one of those life-altering strokes. We all know somebody like that, right? I know several people like that. This guy would have had just terrible quality of life if he had stayed like that. So we got him to our ER. From the time that he arrived, our EMS calls, we get the radio call, we can tell usually from the report what the situation is. And our firefighters gave an excellent report. I actually pulled the report from this call this morning just so I could listen to it, so I would have to be able to tell you. It was excellent. I would have done the exact same thing today if I had heard that call come in. We had everything lined up. He got to our ER. Within minutes, he was in the CAT scan machine, and those pictures were taken. Within 13 minutes, we had a read on that CAT scan. That's phenomenal. That's amazing. Within 16 minutes after that, that life-saving drug, the TPA, that clot buster, was dripping into his veins. He had kind of a long course because a stroke that bad really does affect your body. But I think a couple of weeks later, he was discharged, and today he has just a little bit of difficulty speaking, but he can walk, he can talk, he was able to move his side, everything except for just a little bit of difficulty speaking. He's totally normal. So I just want to say, Beaumont Troy is a certified, recognized stroke center, certified by the CMS. There's several hospitals around here. I know Henry Ford is. You guys are too, right? Stroke center. So we have lots of great hospitals in this area, and our fire department is the link from your home to those hospitals. Whichever one is closest for these kind of cases, that's where they go, and that is how they save lives. So I just want to say that the other link, and I always, because I'm a nurse and part of nursing is educating, I always want to say, if you ever have somebody who has those symptoms, we actually have little flyers. I brought some if anybody wants one, but of facial droop, weakness, confusion, inability to get words out, inability to speak, garbled speech, unable to understand what you're saying. Stability where they lose their balance. When you have them raise their hands, one hand won't stay at, it keeps drooping down, or weakness in one arm. It's essential to get that person to an ER as fast as possible. Calling 911 is the right thing to do. And you can really save lives and save livelihoods. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for having me. Tony Bonfiglio. I'm the chief of the emergency department at St. John Macomb and Warren, and I want to thank the chief for inviting me here today. I'll try to be brief. The survivor's story made me excited because everything worked perfectly. The two things that will save people without a hospital cardiac arrest are early CPR, especially by bystanders, and early defibrillation, and everything worked to a T in this particular instance. And kudos to Chief and his providers. And I'm so glad to see that there are survivors here today and the paramedics being recognized. I just want to talk briefly about cardiac arrest and heart attack care. As the chief mentioned, there is a system of care within Macomb County whereby providers in Sterling Heights and others call us pre-hospital and let us know that they're dealing with a heart attack victim. They send us an EKG pre-hospital. We activate our catheterization lab, and we are ready for them when they show up. And in fact, this year, City of Sterling Heights and their firefighters were recognized by the American Heart Association. They provide what's called a Mission Lifeline Award to recognize systems of care from the time a person picks up the phone and calls 911 to the time they're in our emergency department in our cath labs. So Sterling Heights was only eligible because this is their first year for the Silver Award, but they got the Silver Award with ease, and next year we expect them to get the Gold Award, and they will be, I think, the third community to receive the Gold Award. And so we are so very proud of their achievements. These guys are saving lives every day. They really are. And it's a pleasure to work with the chief and his providers to integrate this care to help the people of the Sterling Heights and the surrounding communities. So I just wanted to recognize the chief and let you guys know about that award, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you.
Anything else, chief? Council, I'll open it up. Any comments or questions? Mrs. Sarowski.
Those of you who don't know, I'm a nurse. I think I've seen this every time we have a Life Alert or a Life Coin Award. Boy, Mr. Raffin, you know how to pick your golfing partners, I'll tell you that. I think they need to golf with my husband just in case. Yes, it is extremely important to know how to do CPR, so everybody out there, if you have any inkling at all, and even if you're scared to learn, there are many opportunities to do so. We're hoping to open up with Sterling Heights Fire Department to be able to teach residents, but there's also the Red Cross. Hospitals also offer programs. Please learn. It is extremely important because you can obviously save lives. Congratulations to our other firefighters who participated in this, and to also our emergency room department staff that comes and that takes care of our patients. It's wonderful to see. I worked ER at St. John, Maine, so 100 years ago, but it's a really important thing to be able to have good service. On a totally personal note, I just lost my father 2 weeks ago to what ended up being probably a stroke. And he was in the hospital when it actually happened. He was having some symptoms, but had they actually recognized it and took care of it when they needed to, he might have been here today. It's a hindsight look. I'm not going to dwell on that too much, but the excellent care that we can provide and that our firefighters and emergency room personnel provide makes the difference. So I want to thank you all for doing such a very good job. Thank you.
Anyone else, Council? Mr. Radke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Raffin, I'm just so glad to see you today. I'm so glad you could walk in here. I think it's because we have one of the best fire departments in the state. I want to make sure the residents know this because we have a ballot issue coming up. You can decide how you want to vote on it, but I believe that the care we provide here is life-saving. I'm so glad to see you, and I'm glad you walked in. I'm glad you're going to walk out again. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else, Council? If not, again, kudos to all that were involved in this. It starts with, as was said many times, it starts with whoever is there. Sometimes it's a husband or wife at home. This instance, it was your golf partners. Now, I have to say, Plumbrook Golf Course is perhaps my favorite place in the city of Sterling Heights. I've played that course more times than I could count. I know every hole. And I know as if you were probably there on a weekend, was it a weekend? Those are so slow, those rounds are so slow. If you were out down on 14, maybe it was a different outcome because it takes a while to get out to the back corner there. But have you been back to Plumbrook since? Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah. Good, good.
Great.
Back to the scene of the accident. You know what? As Mr. Radke said, you know, it's great to see you here. We've done 18 of these, and each one is really exciting to see the family come out, to see how appreciative the survivors and their families are, the work that's done by the dispatchers, the firefighters, the nurses, the doctors, and everyone. It takes a big effort to save one person's life, and all of it is worth it. And so when we look at the tremendous services that we have, it's no doubt about it worth it to keep this going. And to anyone that would want to take that away, I say, look at this man's life. What is a man's life worth? What is your life worth? What is your loved one's life worth? And so just God bless to you and your family, and you know, hit them long and straight, but not into that creek on number 9.
No, please do.
You know, Henry likes to fish golf balls out of there,
Yeah.
so
Thank you.
Get 'em.
Thank you for your golf balls.
I've never hit it in that creek in my life, except for on a drive once, actually, true story. Anyway, thank you for being here and being part of this ceremony. We're lucky to have you. You're lucky to have the friends and the team that you had. And thank you to the doc and nurse for coming here and providing some information and education. And hopefully, as Mayor Pro Tem Sarowski said, everybody's encouraged to get out and learn CPR so you can be that first line of defense. So one more big round of applause for everyone involved. Congratulations. All right, thank you very much, Chief. Good job, and good job to the fire department, as always. So with that, we'll move on. We have another presentation tonight, and this is to adopt a resolution congratulating Sterling Heights High School for being recognized as a 2019 Academic State Champ by Bridge Magazine. We have a presentation from the Superintendent of the Warren Consolidated School District, Dr. Robert Livernoy. Dr. Livernoy?
There he is.
They can all come up too.
Yeah, guys.
Members of council, Mayor Taylor and Mr. Vanderpool, appreciate the opportunity to come here and share with you another round of good news. Before I get into our school business, I do want to take a moment and thank the city for a strong partnership we have with both police and fire in our schools. Many people are unaware, even in this day and age, that half of all of Warren Consolidated Schools are actually in Sterling Heights. And the partnership we have with the police department and Chief Dojkowski, Chief Martin is extraordinary. From our recent decision to connect our cameras with the police department. In fact, Chief Martin was just at our Career Prep Center not too long ago, talking to our EMT students about a career in EMT and firefighting. And when I think about just the start of this school year, we have a practice of keeping the board informed anytime there's an emergency at the school, whether it's a broken arm on the playground or something serious. And I can tell you, we've used Sterling Heights a lot since September 3rd for any number of things. And we're very thankful for the service you provide our schools. It would be, in my personal opinion, it would be in this community's best interest to support this millage in November, because it really is, on top of all the life-saving examples talked about tonight, it really is what makes Sterling Heights a great city. So on that note, I want to introduce some important people who are with me tonight. These are members representing the Warren Consolidated Schools Board of Education, Mr. Carl Weckerly and Mr. Brian White. They're members of the board. Also here is the principal of Sterling Heights High School, Mr. Craig Miller, and our chief academic officer, Mr. John Bernia. We've been here before presenting different awards, and what's exciting about tonight is, if you're familiar with Bridge Magazine, a pretty respectable publication, Warren Consolidated Schools this year had not one but two of our high schools ranked in the top 10 of all the high schools in their category by Bridge Magazine, and one of those is Sterling Heights High School. And as we have done customarily in the past, I'll ask my Just hold that open there. This is another banner we'd like to present to you, if you could display it somewhere proudly. We announced that the Sterling Heights High School is ranked one of the top 10 academic state champs for 2019 by Bridge Magazine. And when you consider there's over 500 some school districts in Michigan, and some 44% of all students in schools live in the Tri-County area, this is an extraordinary recognition. And if I could just comment briefly, about 5 years ago, we set out to pare down what we expect our teachers to do. And we can roll this up if you want, or just set it there. If you're not aware, many times our society relies on public schools to provide any number of opportunities to reach children, whether it's driver's education. Back in the day, there was boater safety. When HIV became a problem, it was a requirement to provide HIV education. So public schools are often sort of the landing pad for anything that our society wants our children to have. And in the midst of that, it creates a lot of activity in schools that competes for academic time. So about 5 years ago, with the support of the Board of Education, we set out to what I call clean out the garage. And when I was a kid, maybe once or twice, maybe once a year or so, my dad would clean our garage out. He'd take everything out in the driveway, right? Spend all day, clean everything out, hose the garage out, dry it out, and then he'd only put the stuff back in the garage that he wanted, and the rest he would donate to St. Vincent de Paul. So I took that metaphor to our district, and I said, we need to focus our efforts and try to clean out the garage so that we can focus our academic efforts in those areas that matter the most. And frankly, it's why we've been back here, I think, now 4 or 5 years in a row. And I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the efforts of our teachers and all of the support staff that wrap around students in our schools. And I just left, we were all together tonight visiting multiple open houses. And I get the opportunity to share with parents that Warren Consolidated Schools and in partnership with the City of Sterling Heights is an absolutely great place to send your kids to school. And I'm proud to say my children went to school there. And believe it or not, they all grew up, moved out, and are doing really well. So it's proof in the pudding. So
I've been a resident of Sterling for 32 years.
yeah.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. It's an outstanding city. So with all that packaged together, I did want to present this to you. Thanks for your continued partnership, and we're proud to serve the city alongside of you. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
We're going to get a picture here somewhere.
We have a camera, somebody?
No?
Where's Marissa?
Good job, guys.
Here comes Mark. Here comes the camera.
Melanie's there.
We'll stand right here.
Melanie's got one, Mark. We're good. Cameras are better than cameras. I know. Some women in there.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Appreciate
everybody.
it.
Yep. All right.
We do have a resolution, Maria, Mrs. Schmidt, I should say. Would you like to take that?
Thank
Guys,
you.
don't leave just yet. I got a few comments I'd like to make too. Mrs. Schmidt.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. Resolved to adopt the resolution congratulating Sterling Heights High School for being recognized as a 2019 academic state champ by Bridge Magazine.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion, Mrs.
Of
Schmidt?
course, I have to talk about Sterling Heights High School. So, sorry, Mayor, through the chair. First of all, the statistic was 323 grads last year. My daughter is one of them. She is one of the 76.7% at Mr. Miller's alma mater, Saginaw Valley. Go Cards. I can't be more proud, and it's the staff. It really, and it does. It starts with the man at the lead. He cares about the kids. He cares about the staff. He cares about the community, as does the whole district. I happen to be an employee of the district as well. So that's okay. You know what? I'm proud to work with our students. I work with kids from Sterling Heights High School, Matt and Cosno. And I'm telling you, we do have some wonderful kids and awesome staff in our district. And without the support of the taxpayers in our community, we could not do what we do. So I thank you, Mr. Miller. Kudos to you and the staff at Sterling. I will always be a Stallion parent. And congratulations.
Council, anyone else? Mr. Radke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a proud graduate of Cosno High School, some of us in Sterling Heights go to Cosno anyways, I have to say you're doing a great job, and it's so good to see us being awarded for academic excellence, because I can't think of a better school to have your kids in. I urge everyone, if you don't live in Sterling Heights, to move here and enroll your kids. They're going to do well, and they're going to go far, and we're going to go to college and hopefully get great jobs. So thank you so much for the great work you're doing.
Council, anyone else?
Yes,
Mrs. Koski.
I have to agree with my council members. Sterling Heights has fantastic schools. We moved to Sterling Heights 50 years ago because of the school district. Warren consolidated. I had 2 sons at that time. Now have 3 sons, and they all went to Warren Con, and fantastic education. My 3 grandchildren, one has already graduated from Warren Con, 2 are in the elementary school. So school district, fantastic, none better. So congratulations, you're showing us on banners exactly how wonderful you are. Keep up the good work.
Mrs. Zarko.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor Taylor. I have to congratulate all of you, and it's from the top down, or you can say it's from the bottom up, but everybody works together, and it certainly shows. I actually had the opportunity to introduce myself to Mr. Miller on one of my walks last week, and he was using the services of the Sterling Heights Police Department at the time. So we did have a nice conversation, so I understand, the partnership that we have, and I'm certainly grateful that you appreciate us as much as we appreciate you, and it certainly shows. And I really don't think that the board gets enough credit for what they do, because you are the guiding force behind almost everything that happens. So, congratulations to the board. Nothing further.
Anyone else? Mrs. Sarowski.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Taylor. So education does make the difference. It evens the playing field for everybody in our country, and we're very lucky to have public education, and that makes even more of the difference to live in Sterling Heights, to have such an excellent program. So thank you, Dr. Livernoy, Mr. Miller, board members, and everyone, because you are changing lives, and you're making them better, and you're changing the community, and you're making it better. And we could not ask for a better partnership, and we thank you again. So congratulations to you.
Anyone else? Just one left. Okay. Well, congratulations, Dr. Livernoy. It's great to see you again and here for another celebratory presentation on the high marks that Sterling Heights High School is getting. Congratulations, Principal Miller. If you didn't notice, we've got, about 8 students here in the front row from various schools. I don't think any of them from Sterling Heights High School. But tonight, these are going to be the first 8, the inaugural 8 members of the new Youth Advisory Board here in Sterling Heights. And we're looking to fill the board with about 20 students. And they have to be residents of Sterling Heights. And we're hopeful that you guys can, now that the school year is back in session, that you guys can spread the word. And some of your outstanding students would, I'm sure, fit in very well in this board. So I hope you'll pass that along. And we'd love to have that impact. So you're doing great things. And those kids are going to go on to get a college education, or they're going to go into the trades. They're hopefully going to stay somewhere here locally, but we want to tap into them while they're here. Not just prepare them for a future, but take advantage of the skills and talents that they have right now. There's a wealth of untapped talent that I think we can really work with, and to make sure that we're hearing not just from the people who look like us, but the people who look like our kids and our grandkids as well, because they have a lot to offer. And so we're really excited about that, and we're excited that you guys are doing the things that you're doing here, the city of Sterling Heights, to create those young, talented minds. So thank you for that. Great job. Congratulations. So we do have the resolution right. Without any further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. Big round of applause. All right. We'll move on to the next item on our agenda tonight, which is the consent agenda. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on any item on tonight's consent agenda? Mr. Maffa?
Bob Maffa, Sterling Heights. Good evening. The consent agenda, I have a concern on it. I would like to correct the minutes of the meeting from 9/3/19. At the end of the meeting, there was a remark from Mark Vanderpool that said there was some comment on the Safe Streets millage. Mr. Maffa was incorrect when he said there was no sunset on the recreating recreation millage. That's one of them. There's two other ones, but if you want to address that, what I was doing, I was talking regarding the safe streets. And on my chart, I showed from 2013 to 2019, it was a sunset. It started in 2013 and it would end in 2019. Then I said, recreating recreation, before that, if you knew that it was not going to sunset, you should have notified the residents. Nobody ever notified the residents that the Safe Streets was not going to sunset. So you got confused when I said it wasn't going to sunset. So I'm going to correct that. I was correct with what I said. So however you want to change the minutes, I'll leave that up to you. The next one was, and was also incorrect in saying that the Safe Street is a tax increase. Hold on. If you can go down to that. At the end of the meeting, Mike Taylor.
All right, can you pause this time real quick? So this is a technical thing, but you can talk about whether there were errors in the way the minutes were presented. But what you can't do is say what you want the minutes to say. Now, if for example, if Mr. Vanderpool, I recall what Mr. Vanderpool said. He said Mr. Maffa was incorrect and it is a sunset. Now, he might have misheard what you said, but those are, the minutes accurately reflect what he said. So even if he misspoke, or even if somebody says something that's not correct, not true, the minutes, if they accurately reflect what that person said, then the minutes don't need to be changed and they shouldn't be changed. So if you have anything where you think that somebody said something and the minutes do not accurately reflect what that person said, by all means. But I don't want to have you just using this as two bites at the apple to talk about the Safe Streets millage. So if you have something where you think that there's a technical, incorrect description in the minutes, go ahead and tell us. But if you just think that it's bad information in the minutes, or it's information that you disagree with, then I don't think we should be delving into that. You understand, Bob?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. He misunderstood what I said. I was talking within a block from 2013 to 2019.
I get that, but his misunderstanding aside,
Yes.
if the minutes accurately reflect what he said, even if it was wrong,
Yeah.
then the minutes should not be amended. The minutes are supposed to be a record of what was said, whether it was right or whether it was wrong.
Okay.
If I say the sky is green and the grass is blue, the minutes should reflect that.
Okay.
But we don't change them because it's a factually inaccurate statement. You understand? So I'm not going to go on about this anymore. This is, talk about if you think that there was anything technically incorrect with what was recorded in the minutes.
What I want is an asterisk next to that, down on the bottom of the minutes, that say that Mr. Maffa was correct, because my credibility is here. And I always tell the truth here, always. And to spin it a different way is wrong. So put an asterisk there, let him look down on the bottom, that,
Can you put his time back on, please? Okay, Mr. Moff, if you have anything where you
I
believe the
do.
minutes are inaccurately depicting what was said.
okay. And also, this is the other part, I got everything what he said verbatim, and was also incorrect in saying that the Safe
All right, I'm
Street.
going to call you out of order, Mr. Muffa,
Why?
because I'm not getting across to you.
He's
and I'm sorry.
incorrect.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't matter.
Wow. So he don't
can
have,
be incorrect in what he says about any topic.
unbelievable.
The minutes are just a recording of what he says.
Well, then he cannot tell the
Mr.
truth,
Muffa's
is that
out of
right?
order right now, Mr. Muffa, you're
So-
out of order. I'm going to ask you to
Out of
go sit-
order?
Yes, you're out of order.
I'm telling it like it is. I got all minutes verbatim.
Okay. I'm
Okay.
going to ask you to
Okay.
not go into the discussion of the Safe Streets Millage. You're free to do that under citizens' comment. If you have any problems with how the minutes are drafted, whether there are any inaccuracies about what was actually said, not what the intent of what was said or what should have been said, but if there's anything wrong with the minutes as they're presented,
Yes. They're
I'm gonna
here.
co-
I'm going to tell you where it's wrong. And was also incorrect in saying that the Safe Streets is a tax increase. This is simply not accurate. That is not a true statement.
it doesn't,
There-
okay, you're out of order, Mr. Muffa. I'm going to have to ask you to sit
Well,
down.
there's one more.
No,
One more
I've
item.
asked you to stay on topic. You can't be violating our council rules. I'm sorry.
Truth, and then it's in the minutes.
Thank you
that
very much.
I didn't tell the truth, right? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else under the consent agenda? Okay, council, we need a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
move to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
It's been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item on our agenda is to consider publication of the preliminary agenda for Sterling Heights City Council meetings in the official city newspaper at an estimated annual cost of $5,000. We have a presentation from our city manager, Mark Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. By way of history, at the August 6, 2019 City Council meeting, City Councilman Mike Radke inquired about bringing forth a budget amendment for the costs associated with publication of the preliminary agendas for City Council meetings in the Sterling Heights Century, the official city newspaper. The budget amendment was prompted by residents who did not have internet access to view the completed agenda on the city's website. Of historical note, the Office of City Clerk previously published the preliminary agenda in the Century. This practice ended due to the lead time required by the paper and the subsequent incompleteness and inaccuracy of the preliminary agenda when it was published. The lead time for publication in Century is 1 week prior to the publication date. So, for example, the preliminary agenda for this meeting, September 17th, would have been published on September 11th, which means the city clerk would need to submit the preliminary agenda for publication on September 4th for this meeting, 1 day prior to the regular meeting. At this date, the agenda is incomplete and substantially amended over the course of the next 8 days until finalized on Thursday, September 12th, which would have been last week. So the point is, there's a lot of changes that go on during that period of time. Some agenda items pop onto the agenda during that 8-day period. Some items drop off. Sometimes the agenda items are amended. So what we concluded is it just wasn't very meaningful to publicize the preliminary agenda. The other factors considered by the city clerk were legal requirements and costs for publishing, obviously. There is no state law, local charter, or ordinance requirement for publishing a preliminary agenda. The city currently posts the agenda on our website and on the bulletin board at the City Hall by the clerk's office, with a finalized agenda posted the Friday before the meeting, which again would have been last Friday. Just 2 days prior to the preliminary agenda would have to be published in the paper. So we estimate that the annual cost to publish a preliminary agenda by today's publication cost would be approximately $5,600. And after reviewing this further, there is a more, what we believe to be effective alternative of providing those who wish to have a final agenda and do not have internet access and are unable to physically come into City Hall, and that is as follows. The Michigan Freedom of Information Act states in relevant part that a person has a right to subscribe to future issuances of public records that are created, issued, or disseminated on a regular basis. A subscription is valid for up to 6 months at the request of the subscriber and is renewable thereafter. Thus, for the mere cost of postage, any resident lacking internet access who desires to get the completed agenda, again, as of last Friday in that example, can have it sent to their home prior to the regular city council meeting and may subscribe with the office of city clerk. The alternative not only provides the resident with a more complete agenda, obviously it would be the final agenda, but a substantial savings to the city. The city can also broadcast the completed agenda on Sterling Heights TV, which we're prepared to do, and post copies at the Sterling Heights Public Library, Senior Center, and the new community center that's opening early next year. For all the foregoing reasons, administration is respectfully recommending that the alternative be promoted to address the need of individuals that wish to see a final agenda but are not able to do so electronically. The alternative recommendation presents a win-win opportunity, and at this time, I would be happy to address any comments or questions that the City Council may have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vanderpool. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this item? If not, so, Council, we will need a motion. Mr. Radke, here's my recommendation. If you would like to make the suggested action, that's very easy. If you would like to not make the suggested action, then it'll die and there'll be no discussion and we'll move on to the next item. If you would like to have discussion, you could make a motion to publish or to not publish.
Okay.
So I'll leave it up to you. Mr. Radke.
I would like to discuss it, but I want to go with your suggestion. So, resolved to not publish the preliminary agenda for Sterling Heights City Council meetings in the official city newspaper at a cost of $4,400 and amend the fiscal year 2019-20 budget, increasing the city clerk publishing account number 1171-7216-902000.
Support. Okay, it's been moved and supported to not publish and not expend this money and not amend the budget. Mr. Radke.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I brought forth this motion because I had concerns that certain members of our city who did not have internet access. Now, this is a real problem here in Sterling Heights because we have wireless routers available in the library that are almost always checked out to make sure people have hotspots to use the internet. Make sure they were getting information about what the city council was doing. After going through this process and talking with the city administration, it seems that because we use a paper record that publishes on a weekly basis, it's almost not worth spending the money to publish it in the paper. I do have some suggestions for what the city could do, though. I see what Mr. Vanderpool has laid out. But I believe that instead of having people file a FOIA for this information, we should institute a policy whereby the city clerk keeps a list of people who want to subscribe to our agendas by mail, and that we should mail them free of charge to residents who want to subscribe to mail to our agendas. This would involve 2 mailings a month for our agendas. The city administration concurred with me on this when we discussed it, I believe, Mr. Vanderpool, and it would cost less than the $4,400 that we would expend for basically useless information in the paper. And this way, there's no excuse for anyone to say, I didn't see it, I had no way to get it. If you come to City Hall and you put your name on a list, at that point, we would then mail you the agenda and you would know what is going on in City Hall. I urge people, if you can get it online or get it in some other method, please use that method. But for people who might not have internet access or have the ability to get the agenda, this would cure that problem. So that is my suggestion going forward. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Radke. Anyone else on council?
have a question.
Mrs. Sarowski?
Through the chair to Mr. Vanderpool. So when we're saying that we're going to broadcast the agenda, that's just the basic agenda. It's not, we're not going to be broadcasting the backup information, or are we?
Mr. Vanderpool?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem Sarowski, we currently do include a complete package of material electronically, so anyone who has internet connection can not only see the agenda, but all the backup that goes with it. What we would also do is make sure that we publicize the agenda in a more visible place. Right now, you have a few mouse clicks to go to get to the agenda packet, and this would just be a little more visible on our website, the actual agenda itself.
I'm talking about the, you said you were going to do it on TV?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We certainly would, we have multiple opportunities on SHTV to scroll the agenda, and we certainly would be happy to do that.
Including backup material is my question.
Well, the backup material would be, that would be a
That's-
very long scroll.
That's why
I
I'm
mean,
asking.
We
Right.
sometimes
So it
have,
would
you
not
know,
be.
300, 400, or 500
That's-
pages.
that's
So it'd
why
just
I
be
asked.
the agenda.
Exactly, thank you. Okay, that was the only question I had.
I like watching TV more than reading too, but I mean, I think
Yeah,
that's
oh, I
taking it to
agree.
the
I just wanted to make sure that that was clear.
Anyone else, council? I think this is a good resolution. It's a little bit procedurally, it was not the way we generally go.
So I guess without objection to my suggestion, would that function better?
So you're asking to amend it so that the city would pay for the
Postage.
Mm-hmm.
For 1 year.
postage rather than
1 year
charge?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think we need to do anything, or can you
I
administratively?
withdraw the motion and then enter a new motion, or?
What do you think, Mr. Koszybski?
So the concern that I have is the postage part of it, if you're going to be doing the entire backup material.
No, just the preliminary agenda.
The agenda, I think we'd want to at least understand what that cost could be.
Okay, will the city, without objection, could the city research that and present us a future agenda item?
I think the city could, but I mean, it's going to really depend on how many people sign up for this, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Vanderpool.
Mayor, just a quick comment on that. Councilmember Radke, I don't think we'll have a huge demand for this. I think if the city council set a cap, say this initial year of an amount not to exceed, maybe 250 or 500, whatever your prerogative is, that would cover, 10, 20 or so individuals requesting. And then we can reevaluate. If we have more requests beyond the cap, we can discuss that during the budget process. But I think setting a reasonable cap now would allow us to get going. And if you want to start the program and it's council's prerogative, we can do so.
What do you recommend, Mr. Vanderpool?
Well, I would recommend on the lower end, $250 as a cap, and then we'll see where that takes us.
Okay, why don't we do, $1,500 is basically a third of what we were going to spend anyways. That would be 100 residents at $13.50 a year, which is 20, we roughly have about 27 meetings. So we want to go not to exceed $1,500 for the first year, and then we'll see where it is next year.
Mayor Taylor?
Mrs. Zarko.
I don't see a problem with that at all. And I think I want to add that if there's anything that's going to affect, say, somebody within 300 feet of whatever agenda item it might be, they're notified by mail anyway. So this would be just, it would be a broader scope as to if you lived on the other side of the, of the city, you would know what was going on that particular agenda. So I think I think it'll work.
Okay. Do you need anything to change in the motion, or can you just administratively do that? What do you think, Mr. Koszybski?
I think we should withdraw the motion and make a motion that would allow for residents to sign up for an agenda mailing at a cost, amend the budget to allow for a $1,500 cap.
Okay. Why don't you withdraw your motion?
I withdraw my motion, Mr. Mayor.
I'll withdraw my support, and then why don't you take a stab at that motion?
Okay. Resolved to approve a budget amendment for the 2019-2020 budget year to allow agendas to be mailed to residents who sign up at City Hall, not to exceed $1,500 in the current budget year.
Support. Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
I think we've come to a conclusion that I think will make sure everyone gets our information and also allows us to serve the residents better.
Okay, I agree. Anyone else have any thoughts, anything they need to add? With no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, we'll move on to the next agenda item. You don't get to speak while we're, no, we didn't, Mr. Maffa. This is not, this is not the Bob Maffa show, okay? You are out of order and you're skating on thin ice. I mean, are you just going to keep interrupting the meeting and doing whatever you want regardless of our council rules? The city council can deliberate up here and can change the motion and can do whatever the city council needs to do in deliberation. You had an opportunity to come up and speak. You'll have an opportunity to come up and speak on every agenda item. Moving on to our next agenda item. This is to consider appointments to the City of Sterling Heights boards and commissions. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this item? If not, we have a few, let me get to it.
I have them here, Mr. Mayor, if you need them.
We have a few. We've got, we'll start off with the Citizens Advisory Committee, CDBG. This is a open appointment to a partial term ending June 30th, 2025, with the city council's power of appointment. Is there anyone who has an appointee for this board?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Radke.
resolved to appoint Sean Taylor to the Citizens Advisory Committee, CDBG, to a partial term ending June 30th, 2025, since the appointee meeting the qualifications set forth in Charter subsection 4.03, taking the oath of office within 2 weeks.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
He was recommended by the administration. I think he'll do a great job.
Very good. With no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next is the Local Development Finance Authority. This is an open seat to a partial term ending June 30th, 2020. This is a mayoral power of appointment. I have a candidate that I think is going to be on board, but I just need to confirm. So I would entertain a postponement on this item to the October 1st, 2020 meeting. Somebody make that motion.
So moved.
2019 meeting?
I'm sorry, 2019 meeting.
So moved.
Support. It's been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We also have exciting news tonight. We have 20 open positions for a new board, the Youth Advisory Board. And we have a number of the candidates here today. So we gotta go out and, don't know why this is this way, but, so we have 20 candidates. We have, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 recommended appointments. And we could take all of these in one action. Is there somebody who'd like to make this motion?
Mayor Taylor.
Mrs. Sarowski.
Okay, we are resolved to appoint Emma Bowen, Miranda Davis, Connor Hayes, Ian Payne, Ashley Popko, Rohit Roy, Faith Simon, Max Stefanski, Amanda Young, and Corey Zelda to the Youth Advisory Board to a term ending June 30th, 2020, subject to the appointees meeting the qualifications set forth in Charter subset 4.03 and taking the oath of office within 2 weeks. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Sarowski?
I just want to say, I'm so glad that you guys came forward. There's still 12 positions open, citizens, and we are taking recommendations. But of course, we want the young people to be willing to come in, so make sure that those recommendations are with their consent. But you guys give us, you're giving a voice to people of your age. You're giving us some perspective. I have 3 grown children, one's in college, he's not grown yet. And it's really important to hear from you. And we need to have that perspective. This is your city, too. This is not just our city and the adults tell you what to do. You guys live here, you love where you live, you have families here, you're growing up here. So we want your perspective, what we're doing and how it affects you, and your brilliance that you can bring to this board is wonderful. So I'm looking forward to hearing everything you guys have to say. So thank you for volunteering and giving your time and efforts and being brave enough to step forward.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Sarowski. Anyone else, council?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Radke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say I'm so impressed by both your qualifications and your resumes and also your willingness to serve your city. I mean, I got started in government at about the age of 18. You're starting even younger, and it's so exciting because, you're going to have a voice on how to shape the city for the future, hopefully you'll go on to do successful things in all that you want to do. But I know we really appreciate you here, and I'm honored to know you, and I thank you so much for your service to your community. I think you're going to have a great time if we're willing to put through another meeting or two.
Council, anyone else?
Mr. Mayor.
Mrs. Koski.
Congratulations, and I would like to make a couple suggestions to you. When you have your meetings, you will have the opportunity to make requests of council. One of the requests that I would like you to keep in mind is there's such a thing as Michigan Municipal League. And the mayor would love to take some of you to the meetings.
A good request.
Yes, you will.
Where you will have the opportunity to learn about government, learn about the different things that you can do, and just different issues that affect the city of Sterling Heights. So I encourage you to make that one of the requests that you have.
Conference of Mayors has better locations. Hawaii. I'm just saying. If you're.
The mayor would love to suggest what meetings he would love to have you attend. So it's going to be fun. You're going to find it very interesting. And if you have any friends that you think might want to participate, please, please ask them to also apply. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Koski.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Council? Well, I'm not going to repeat too much of what I already said, as I'm sure you were listening when Dr. Livernoy was here. We really are doing this because we're interested in what you have to say. We want to know what are the issues that are important to you and what can the city do about it. And sometimes we get focused more on, our own perspectives, and we have certainly different life experiences than you guys have. And, being able to learn from you and develop policies that are going to be impactful to people of your age and your generation is also going to be impactful and helpful and beneficial to us. So we want to hear that, and we're excited about where this is going to go. The way we've kind of structured this, I think, is that there's going to be some structure, but you're not going to be babysat. It's going to be your board, and you're going to be able to create the policy, create the direction, work on projects and issues that are important to you. And so that's kind of the whole point and the purpose behind it, is to not, direct you as to what needs to be done, and instead do the opposite so that you can tell us where our blind spots are and what we need to be doing differently. So we're really excited about it. I think it's going to be a great addition. I think it's something that's going to help improve the quality of life for our young people in the community and everyone else. So I want to congratulate all of you and welcome you aboard. And we're excited to get this Youth Advisory Board up and running. So without any further discussion, council, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. We do have time for a photo. I was going to say, if you guys want to come up one by one and introduce yourself. We did it a little bit too in the council. Maybe you don't, if you don't have to, if you don't want to, but I'll open the invitation. If you would like to come introduce yourself, say what high school you're from, I'll give you that opportunity right now at the podium. Come on.
You really don't have a choice.
Government work now.
I know.
I'm Miranda Davis, and I go to UAIS.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Connor Hayes, and I go to Henry Ford II High School.
Good.
My name is Corey Zelda, and I go to Stevenson High School.
My name is Rohit Ray, and I go to Stevenson and the MST program at Utica.
My name is Emma Bone, and I go to Stevenson High School.
My name is Maximilian Stefanski, and I go to IA East.
My name is Ashley Popko, and I go to Davis Junior High.
My name is Faith Simon, and I also go to IA East.
All right, very good. If you don't mind, we're going to come down, the council, join me down there. We're going to take a quick group picture.
I ran you over?
guys stay up here. Let's go get up. Figure this out, don't worry.
I feel very short right now.
We're gonna peek in between. Put you right here.
All right, everybody good? Okay, congratulations, guys. Good job. Good luck. Congratulations. Congratulations. All right. So with that, we will move on to the next item, which is communications from citizens. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on any item not on tonight's agenda? Mr. Maffa. Okay, Mr. Moffa, let's begin your presentation. Go ahead and start Mr. Moffa's time. Thank you.
Bob Moffa, Sterling Heights. Good evening. Over the last 2 or 3 months, there's been numerous residents here that were talking about this bike path trail going from Delia to Beaumont's parking lot. I've walked and looked at it. I've talked to many of the residents, and they're very, very upset. They said that it was promised that it would be 10-foot wide, and some areas are 20, and some are 40. I walked in by Beaumont, and I was actually scared after about 30 feet in there, with all the trees and the birds' nests that are there and deer running through and so forth. My question is, a lot of residents told me, how did this get approved? Who approved it? So I said, let me show you. They said, I've been getting all this mails and literature. Who paid for it? In fact, Mark Vanderpool, one of the meetings, there was a lady came next to us, that sat next to us. She said, where'd all this information come from? And you said, private committee. So I want to address that. This shows the vote. The vote did win by a little over 700 votes. They got 29.4%. The no got 28.5%. People that did not vote, they got 42.1%. So only 3 out of 10 residents voted for the huge building, the rec center across the street. 7 out of 10 residents that did not vote for it are now forced to pay higher taxes for 20 years, from 2017 to 2037, because of the Say Yes to Sterling Heights Committee. And I'll explain to you why. This is the path. Just to show you where the path goes. And the neighbors are saying, nobody ever showed us how close it's going to come to all the homes. And I can show you here, I can show you in here how it's coming so close. I said, well, let me explain to you. There was a committee called Say Yes to Sterling Heights. And that committee was formed by the mayor's wife. I brought this up about 2.5 years ago. And just to look, the committee received over $100,000. And if it wasn't for that committee, according to the media site that's on Say Yes to Sterling Heights, they took credit for helping this win. That's what they said. So if this committee wasn't there and it was even up, it probably wouldn't happen. this would never be going through. So I looked at this, Say Yes to Sterling Heights. Rizzo gave 5,000. Maple Lane, 25,000 to say yes. Then there's been numerous not payment fines. So I looked in, I know the address is the same as Mike Taylor's house, so to close it out, a check came, it's right here if you can drill down on this. A check came from CTE Mike C. Taylor. Payment of late fees, $725. Then a letter came, okay, it's closed out. That's a conflict of interest. The mayor, in the Shell committee that he set up, got over $100,000, helped this get approved, the vote, and none of the residents knew about it. So my question is, what did you spend the $25,000 on? Did you give Rizzo back his money? And
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Maffa. Who'd like to be next under communications from citizens? Take you next, miss.
Hi, my name's Deanne Elms, and I'm the director of the domestic violence program at Turning Point. We were scheduled to come, but I don't see us on the agenda, so I am improvising. We have, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we have a variety of materials that we generally bring and share with you, things like ribbons to wear to help raise awareness, a list of our services, our crisis line number, which is 24/7. And I have power and control wheels that I would like to either pass out or put on this fancy machine that you have.
Yeah, so what is it that you want to,
Well, these are,
so you want, if you want to show it on the screen?
Yeah.
Just put it right there where Mr. Maffa had all of his things. It'll
Okay.
show up.
I'll do that in just a second.
Okay.
I don't want you reading ahead while she's trying to talk. But I will pass some out. And we like to give these out because a lot of times when people hear the word domestic violence, they kind of think just physical abuse, and it really is so much more than that. And if people are aware, it's very helpful. So Stephanie Harris is from our Survivor Speaker Board, and she would like to share a little bit of information.
Hi, Mayor Taylor.
Hi.
Council members, thank you for having us. I am Stephanie Harris, and as she mentioned, I'm a representative of Turning Point Survivor Speakers Bureau. I'm a survivor of what is commonly called a domestic violence relationship. I knew logically what was happening to me was wrong, yet I still stayed. I worked with a counselor at Turning Point for 4 years of my 7-year relationship to safely leave the relationship. I had to heal wounds of my past in order to build the future that was healthy for me. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men report experiencing domestic violence in their intimate partner relationships. These relationships are characterized by power and control. Whether or not physical tactics of control were used, October across the nation is recognized as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. There are many common dynamics within intimate partner relationships where power and control tactics are used, and it is not uncommon for survivors to not recognize their partner is using these tactics due to the gradual and subtle way that they are introduced and used in the relationship. Some common things survivors say are statements such as, "My partner tells me I can never do anything right. My partner pins me down and makes it hard to breathe, for me to breathe. They say they are just messing around. My partner threw my keys in the bushes. I had to search for them, and I missed my job interview. When we were having sex, my partner kept trying to make me try positions I didn't want to. I always had to check with my partner when I wasn't with them and let them know where I was at." So the power and control wheel identifies several more tactics used by controlling partners. This particular power and control wheel is actually something that started my journey with Turning Point because Beaumont Hospital had these in their bathroom. I took it out, folded it up, and put it in my purse. You will find the wheel is divided into sections with different examples in each section, and all pieces link back to power and control. There are many different ways one person in an intimate partner relationship gains and maintains power and control over the other. You may notice most of these tactics do not involve physical violence. Every 5 days, a survivor in a power and control-based relationship is killed by their intimate partner in the state of Michigan. Recognizing and identifying power and control dynamics and offering resources such as Turning Point to survivors can make a difference to someone and may even save a life. They saved mine, and mine was not a physical abuse. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If anyone on the council has questions or comments, or even in the audience, I'd be happy to answer them. And if they don't want to do that right now, please call our number. There's always somebody there to answer questions.
Okay, thank you very much. If we have any questions, are you going to stick around for a few minutes? If we have any questions, we'll probably call you back up after this portion of the agenda is over, okay? Okay, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate your presentation. Thank you. Anyone else under communications from citizens? Mrs. Early?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and residents. I just want to mention, and I'm bringing back the letter that I wrote last time. Mr. Vanderpool mentioned, and correct me if I'm wrong, there were only few instances where the approaches were fixed for the road repair. Actually, it was not. It's way more than 10% that you mentioned. In a street of 75 houses, there were the case over 30 houses where the repair was fixed. And it was not only Cherry Lane. You can go to Alper, you can go to other streets that were in the program, and you find the same case. So this is not an isolated case, and it's also something that it hasn't been completely resolved. The residents should have been getting this letter, and this morning I went to Fox Hill in the part that they are pouring the concrete, and the resident needs to have his driveway approach done, and he was told that the city will not do it. I took pictures. I had taken pictures of every case, which is not 10%, it's higher than that. Residents should not be had to deal with the engineer or with any employee that is dealing with the road repair. This letter will clarify that if they receive the letter, so they know they should not be contracting with anybody, paying anybody, and the city is the one doing the repair for the driveway approaches that need the repair. So I just want to make sure that you clarify that. Don't imply that I was not complete through with my statement, please. And last thing, I'm being really short, is that since we are celebrating Constitution Day today, which I wish everybody a happy Constitution Day, I think it's really proper for each one of you, and I will leave a copy for you. I don't know how many of you had read the document in its entirety, but I think it will be a great thing to do. I gave to the new board members, the teens, now that they are going to be the ones getting involved with our local government. And I hope that people will realize what we are dealing with these issues and take care of that. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Early. Anyone else under communications from citizens? If not, I'll close that portion, go on to reports from city administration. Mr. Vanderpool, anything?
Nothing further, Mayor.
Mr. Kaschubski, anything tonight?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Council, any reports or new business?
Mayor Taylor?
Mrs. Zarko.
Oh, just to, I think, Ms. Elms? I think in the past, we've done a resolution for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and although we didn't do it today, that I'm hoping that we can do it at our next meeting on October the 1st, so that we recognize the good works that you do, because it certainly is important. And I was looking at your circle, and many times when we talk to people, we think of this as being a live-in situation. At times, some of this actually falls into your workplace.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that, you can bring up, because I think other people relate to it too on another level. But I thank you for being here, and certainly hope that my colleagues will agree with me on the resolution for October the 1st. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Zarko. Anyone else?
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Schmidt.
through the chair to Mr. Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool, now that Tim Hortons is bricked at Shaner and Moravian, hopefully windows are coming next and a parking lot and everything that goes inside the building too. My biggest concern though is the promise that that intersection will have a designated left turn arrow. I'm just wondering what the status of that is. If you have that information or you can report back to us, I would appreciate it.
Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Schmidt, that is still part of the project. It will be the last component of the project. The developer is required to make some of the roadway improvements, and then the county will come in and re-signal that entire intersection. But I do not have a timeline for you, so I'll report back to the city council on that.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further.
Thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Anyone else? Mr. Radke.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm so happy that it is Constitution Day, and in honor of Constitution Day, I wanted to remind members of the audience of the First Amendment to the Constitution. Congress should make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or right of the people to peaceably assemble and petition the government for a redress of grievances. Sometimes I think that we forget the entire Constitution, including the amendments here in Sterling Heights. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Anyone else, council? Mrs. Sarowski.
Just very briefly, I wanted to thank Ms. Elms and your guest who also came to speak, and I'm sorry, I forget your name, I apologize. But you spoke very eloquently, and it is very important. I had a workplace situation, as Ms. Ziarko mentioned, and it is not just intimate family members. It's not just people. Sometimes it's even a school situation. Any type of power and control is abuse, or using power to control someone is abuse. And it's extremely important that we understand that. And so to make the resolution that we are going to be making October 1st will help highlight that. But again, Turning Point has done so many wonderful things. They have saved lives on an exponential level. And the ripple effect to the children of the women and the men who they have saved will change how our dynamic is in this community. So I thank you guys for doing your work. It is wonderful work, and we can't help you enough. So thank you again.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Sarowski. Anyone else, council? Just a couple updates and things I want to talk about. As Mr. Radke mentioned, today is Constitution Day. It also, I think, happens to be Citizenship Day, which I wasn't aware of until I attended a new citizens welcoming at the Chaldean Community Foundation this afternoon, and I was excited to attend on behalf of the city. Mrs. McHale was there helping the new residents and new citizens, I should say, register to vote and giving them information about participating in this 2020 census next year. And there were about 30 or 40, I would say, new citizens. And from speaking with the Chaldean Community Foundation, that was just about 10% of the 400 new citizens that have gone through the program at the Chaldean Community Foundation this year. So a great day for a number of new citizens here in the city of Sterling Heights and for our United States of America. I also wanted to thank the women from Turning Point for coming and giving your presentation. We generally do adopt a resolution, as Mrs. Zarko said, and we usually take the ribbon pins, and it's something that we take seriously here in Sterling Heights. There's a ceremony in October that I participate at Beaumont Hospital, the Silent Witness Program, which if you haven't had an opportunity, it's open to the public, I believe, right? And it is really a moving program that you hear from a survivor of domestic violence, and the stories are harrowing, and the survivors are brave and strong, and it really helps me focus me on what's important. So we will participate. I think Mrs. Zarko's suggestion is very good. We should be able to have that queued up, a resolution queued up on October 1st. And again, we thank you for coming and presenting. One other thing, yesterday I had the pleasure of welcoming, and my colleagues have been a part of this for the last week or so, Mayor Esther Hamor from the city of Sorsogon. I think I'm correct.
Sorsogon, yeah.
Sorsogon. in the Philippines. This is a sister city to the city of Sterling Heights, and the Philippines is thousands and thousands of miles away. And the mayor and a delegation from her city came and visited and gave us gifts and shared stories about their town and gave us some delicious food from their city and shared their culture with us. And I want to just personally thank the mayor for coming all these miles to the city of Sterling Heights to visit with us and see our community. And I think her and her team enjoyed her time in Sterling Heights, and I certainly enjoyed my time, and my colleagues on council who met with the delegation enjoyed it as well. So thank you to Mayor Hamor, and with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Support.
Been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.